I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Normally, people say when you introduce them, they feel like you are reading an obituary, especially people who've got a lot of things that they've achieved in life. So I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Welcome, Mr. Lebona. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, who you are, and your journey as an entrepreneur?
Good evening, Dr. J. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform. So the name is Lebona Muledi. I was born in a small town called Bloemfontein in the Free State, but I was raised by my grandmother in Lesotho. So I grew up in Lesotho. That's where I went to primary, high school, and university. So I did my BSc at the University of Lesotho, majoring in biology and chemistry. And then after that, I went to the US and I studied a master's in science, measuring in biochemistry. So I am actually a natural scientist by training. And then after that, that's when I joined this big brewing company. So I worked there for about 8 years. And then I left, I joined another beverage company. I worked there for 3 years. And then after that, I worked for an airline for 3 years. After that, I worked for a company that was involved in the National Lottery for 3 years. So all in all, I worked in the corporate world for about 16 years until the entrepreneurship calling came. So basically 16 years of corporate experience and 14 years of being an entrepreneur. So that's Lebona Muledi. I also did my MBA at Wits, so you and I are alumni.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, Jenny. So you've been in corporate for a long time before you decided to go and be an entrepreneur. Do you want to tell us a bit before we get to the topic of today? Because today we're talking basically about marketing, especially for SMMEs in this time, as to how do you continue marketing in a crisis. But before we get there, I just want you to tell us a little bit, why did you leave corporate and decide to go, decide to become an entrepreneur?
Okay. I always knew that I wasn't going to work in the corporate environment forever. So my plan was always to work in the corporate environment and gain that corporate experience, and then use that experience then to venture into entrepreneurship. So it was always in the plan. I was just not sure when the move from corporate to entrepreneurship was going to happen. But I think what happened, what really pushed it was in 2007, I was working for a company that was operating the National Lottery. So that company had a license. We had a 7-year license, and that license expired in 2007. And when we rebid for the license, we didn't get it. So basically, I was unemployed. I didn't have a job. So that really actually pushed me to say, you know what, this is actually the right time to, to follow my calling.
Okay. So you say that was in 2007. So you basically went into entrepreneurship just before or when recession was starting. How did you make business work during recession?
To be honest with you, in 2007 when I started, I think the recession only really hit us in South Africa mid-2008 towards 2009. So in 2007 when I started, actually everything was fine. I remember I had one client. Well, it took me about 4 months to get a client. This is the company that is called The Marketing Call, where we do outdoor advertising. So it took me 4 months to get a client, because every time I went to make a proposal to clients, they always said to me, but you don't have experience, your company hasn't done anything. But I did actually manage to get a client in 2007. And in 2008, I actually got 2 clients, you know. So the recession, the global recession in 2008, 2009, from the point of view of my business of outdoor advertising, did not actually affect me at all, because a lot of companies still advertise during that time.
Okay, okay. So let's get to the marketing part. You've been in marketing even when you were in corporate. You've been in marketing, a marketing manager, and then when you started your business as well, it was about marketing. What is marketing and why is it important?
Okay. I always use this joke that marketing actually started in the Garden of Eden. Where so that actually tells you that marketing has been around for many, many, many years. So what happened there was you had a marketer who was Eve, and then you had the marketplace, which was the Garden of Eden, and then you had the consumer, Adam. So basically, if you have a trader or a marketer, and you have a consumer, and you have a marketplace, and on top of that, you add the product, which was then the apple, then the management of that entire relationship between those 4 entities. That's what marketing is all about. So Eve marketed to Adam in the Garden of Eden, and the product was the apple. But there's also another school of thought that says there was actually a second marketer, the snake.
Okay.
So marketing is as simple as that. It's all about managing that exchange relationship between the trader or the marketer and the consumer. That relationship has to be managed, and the management of that process, that's what marketing is all about.
Okay. But in the context, so the context today is SMMEs. So in the context of SMMEs and,
Yes.
and during this time that we are in, a lot of SMMEs are struggling. Some of them are closing. It's a very tough time. How do you continue to market in an environment like this? Because at the end of the day, when we market, we want to see some sales coming, or we want to see people saying, yes, we're going to buy your product. But in times like this, it's difficult to do that. So how do you continue to market in times like this?
Well, in fact, true entrepreneurs thrive in crisis. That's my belief. So a true entrepreneur is that person that will actually see opportunities in the middle of a crisis. And I am convinced that in any crisis, there will always be opportunities. So yes, I agree that it's very tough at this moment in time because of this pandemic. But my tips will be as follows. Number 1, just because there is no product that you're selling or there's no service that you're selling, you don't have to sit back and do nothing. Remember, marketing is all about connecting your brand with the consumer. So once you stop communicating with your consumer because you don't have a product, consumers forget very quickly, and you don't want your product or your brand to be forgotten. So my first advice has always been continue to build that relationship, continue to communicate with your consumer, but obviously you need to be empathetic because of the fact that at this moment in time we're dealing with a very deadly pandemic. You know, so marketing doesn't stop. It continues. I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing, obviously, you know, we have social media, and I think social media actually gives us a wonderful opportunity to continue to, you know, to talk about our brands and to continue to communicate with our consumers. We've got various platforms. I mean, we've got LinkedIn, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. So one just needs to know which platform they need to use, because again, those platforms are very different, you know. So it's very important that SMMEs know exactly which platforms to use for their products. The other thing that I see as an opportunity for SMMEs is this lockdown actually has given us time to pause. We tend to get very busy, and because we're chasing business, we're looking for business, we're submitting proposals, and we never actually have time to pause and plan. So for me, I think this lockdown or this COVID-19 pandemic, as much as it's hard, but it has given us time to reflect, to plan, to look at opportunities, to identify our weaknesses, so that post-COVID-19, we can actually come out better. So it is not as bad as it looks, because there are opportunities that are available. The other thing that I will say that is important for SMMEs is to collaborate. A lot of SMEs go on their own because they want to do it themselves. They want to enjoy the cake by themselves. But I will advise SMMEs to get into collaboration, because in collaboration, we can learn as we work together in partnerships, and we can actually deliver a better product if we collaborate. So all these things are opportunities that I think once we go beyond this pandemic, SMMEs should be able to use to move forward.
Okay. Let's just pause there a bit. I'd like to welcome those who've just joined us now. We are having a conversation here with Mr. Libona Muleli from the Marketing Crawl. He's been in marketing for a long time in corporate as an entrepreneur. And we're having a conversation, and we've asked him if he can share some tips for SMMEs as to what is it that, or how SMMEs can market during this time, because most of the time, if times are difficult, sometimes you can lose the focus because you can't sell, or because you don't see the sales, you can lose the focus. But what we are getting now is that during this time, it's time to look for collaboration. It's time to look for opportunities. He says that even in difficult times, if you are an entrepreneur, you can still thrive. And it's not time to cry and then and close ourselves, but it's time to look for opportunities and look for other people that we can collaborate with. So on the Facebook site, Lisiko, if you can check for us who are the people who are joining us, if you can just drop us a message there to say where you're joining us from. And if you've got a question, drop the question on the Facebook site, and Lisiko will get those questions for us. So as soon as you've got questions, Lisiko, then you will let me know. Okay, so let's continue with our conversation. So one of the things you touched when you were talking, or you were giving the tips, is the issue of a brand. Most of the time when we are small business, we don't have budgets to build a brand. We don't have budgets to do a lot of things. So how do we navigate that space, and how do we make sure that with the limited budget or with no budget at all, that we can still be able to get our brand known and be or brands that are reputable out there?
Okay. My view and my belief is that the principles of marketing are the same. Whether you are a Coca-Cola, whether you are a Shell, or whether you are a small company or an SMME, marketing is the same when it comes to the principles. But yes, definitely a big corporate, they have big budgets. So, you know, they can afford to do sponsorships, they can afford to, you know, do billboards, do television, something that obviously SMMEs cannot do. That's the first thing that's the first difference. The other difference is obviously big corporates, they've got personnel. So a big company can appoint a marketing director, they can appoint a marketing manager, they can appoint brand managers. So they have the resources. But an SMME normally is on his own, you know. So that's another big difference, okay? But having said that, it doesn't mean we should stop marketing. Remember, marketing is an investment. And I really wanna push this and drive this home. A lot of people look at marketing as a cost, as a waste of time and waste of money. As I mentioned at the beginning when I was talking about the story that took place in the Garden of Eden, as you can see, every trader is a marketer. So there is no way you can afford not to market. You cannot say, I cannot market because I don't have a budget. I cannot market because I don't have a marketing manager. So as a sole trader, trading on your own, you need to find innovative ways to market. So for example, I mean, we have social media. You know, yes, you still need to buy data to be online. But I mean, there's Facebook, you can communicate your offerings on Facebook, there's Instagram. So social media has actually created a huge opportunity for SMMEs to use to market themselves. So definitely an SMME cannot afford to go and buy a television ad, but I mean, they can create a little video for themselves. You know, that's the first thing. The second thing, I think SMMEs must invest in some sort of education or training. So when you have made a profit, please don't go and buy an Italian shoe. Rather use that money to attend a digital marketing course, use that money to attend a graphic design course, so that at the end of the day, you can be able to do these things yourself without having to employ someone. Big corporates can employ these people because they've got budgets. But if you don't have a budget, my advice is invest in yourself, invest in education. There's a lot of online courses on all these things that can be done, you know. So and again, I mean, going back to collaboration. Collaboration is nice and it's good in the sense that you can share. So if we have a project that we got and we do it together and we collaborate, obviously we can share the expenses out of it. So at the end of the day, yes, we may get less profits because we are collaborating. But what is important is the job is done. And once the job is done, more clients are going to come, you know. So I don't believe that we should make an excuse that we're small, therefore we cannot budget, we cannot market. Marketing happens all the time. And like I'm saying, there are ways now to get around it without having to spend thousands and millions of rands on paid advertising, for example.
Okay, I like that because the issue of budget always comes up a lot. I mentor a lot of young entrepreneurs, and most of the time when you start talking about marketing, the budget issue always comes out to say, but we don't have the money to go and market. We don't have the money to do that and that. There's a question here from Sharon. From Sharon. He says, how do you ensure you get the return on investment there? So you go there, you spend the time, you spend some money marketing. How do you make sure you get your return on investment?
Okay, that's a good question. As I mentioned, it is an investment. But again, I need to mention this. It's a long-term investment. So a lot of people expect to get that ROI tomorrow. That's why it's important that we build brands out of our products. So a very smart professor once said that products are made in factories, but brands are made in the minds of our consumers. So SMMEs must get into the concept of branding their products and services. Whether you are a plumber or you are selling cakes, as long as you have a company, brand that company. Once the company is branded, then you can then talk about your brand to your consumers. And once you talk about your brand to the consumers, then you start connecting to your consumers, and the consumers will love your brand. The return on your investment will come when your consumers are actually no more just consumers, but they are your fans. In other words, they love your brand so much that even if you don't have a product, they won't go to a competitor. So we need to get out of the product mentality and get into the brand mentality.
Okay.
That responsibility is the responsibility of the business owner. The business owner must take full responsibility for their business, and they must brand, because branding takes time, but the return on investment on branding is huge.
Okay. I think we all know what is a product. I want us to explore the brand part a little bit more. What do you mean when you say they must brand? So I'm an SMME. I wake up tomorrow morning, I want to brand. What do I do? What is the first thing to do? I'm branding now. What is something practical? What do I do? I'm branding.
Okay. So without becoming too academic, I will try not to be too academic.
Okay.
There are basically three elements that constitute a brand or branding. Okay. The first one is identity. Okay. So so your brand must have an identity. So for example, it must have a logo, because you know this sign, you know this icon, this one.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you. I can just do this, and you know what it is.
Mm.
That's what branding does. So have a logo, obviously, and then also obviously your brand must have colors. So your identity is all about your color, your logo, and your look and feel. So that's very important. So we start there when we brand. Then the second aspect of branding is obviously your brand strategy. So your brand strategy talks about exactly who you are and what is it that you're offering, and who are your competitors, okay? And what value are you actually giving to your customers? So brand strategy is the second element of your branding. So the first one is creating an identity for your brand. Then the second one is formulating a strategy for your brand. And then the last one, which is very important, but is very difficult to attain, is what we call brand equity. Brand equity is actually the value or the image or the reputation that your consumers have about your brand. But brand equity takes years. So we start with the logo and the colors. So we have a brand. Then we go out into the market and we differentiate ourselves against our competitors in terms of our unique offering. That's our strategy. And then out of that, then we build our image, we build our reputation. So for example, one way of building reputation is ensuring that you provide a consistent customer service. Once your customers are happy with your product and with your service, they're not going to leave you. But if your customer service is inconsistent, then your brand equity will be affected. So So I'll emphasize this. These things don't only apply to big companies. They apply to us as SMMEs, and they are easy to do. But the problem is we think we have that thing that we're small. Oh, no, I mean, that's not for me. I'm just a little boy. I'm just a little company. No. That's actually nonsense. It doesn't matter how small you are. You need to market your business as a serious business, because clients and customers out there, they are looking for serious brands that they can actually have that relationship that I spoke about at the beginning.
Okay, no, that's good. I like the customer service part, because sometimes I think as small businesses we take it for granted how much service makes a big difference.
Yes.
You know, when you are a big Vodacom or you are a big corporate, you can afford to give a bad service and still maintain certain customers because you've got a big client base. But when you're a small business, sometimes you've got one or you've got two clients, and you need those clients to go and tell other people how good your business is. So if you start giving people a bad service, then that's the end. You know, you can kind of like cheat 2 or 3 customers, but at some point the word of mouth will go that don't go there. So customer service, we take it for granted as SMMEs. We feel because we are small, people owe us support. We feel because sometimes we are black owned, then the BE points that people need will make people come to us. But customer service is very important. So that needs to be our signature. Because also when we give bad service as either SMMEs or black owned businesses, we're making life difficult for the next SMME and the next black-owned company, because then it becomes, no, these small businesses, they don't deliver. So I like that. I wanted to emphasize that because I've seen how much sometimes you want to go with this thing of going to buy from your own and supporting other SMMEs because you also understand how much they need customers. But you get there, yes, the service is just like, it's a no. You just can't go back there. You end up going back to another corporate or whatever because you are struggling to get the service. So the customer service is key.
Very important.
Yeah. So another question then that I want to ask for SMMEs that some also get asked a lot is that when we are marketing, especially when you can't kind of like test by seeing people coming to buy, how do you know you are marketing right and you are marketing to the right people?
Well, remember marketing has got a lot of elements. So there is market research, there is advertising, there is promotions, there is sponsorships, there is sales, you know. So all those things are elements of marketing. But I always say that before you start a business, the first thing that you need to do is to ask yourself whether your brand or your business will actually have customers, or whether there's a market for your business. A lot of SMMEs don't do that because we tend to, Dr. J is doing catering, I'm also going to do catering. So you need to sit down and think about exactly what is it that you're going to offer, number one. Number two, what is your market? Are you going to target a mass market with your brand, or are you going to target a niche market, So this is what we call market research. So you do that even before you do those logos, the branding thing. You need to do research first, so that you don't go and sell laptops in an informal settlement that does not have electricity.
Yeah.
So if your business is about laptops and you want to sell laptops use electricity. So your market has to be, a place, an area where that has got electricity. So that's what market research does. Market research also helps us in terms of understanding who our competitors are. Once you understand your competitors in your business, then you will be able to better your offering, because you know what your competitors are offering. Therefore, you can then differentiate yourself and then offer a better product. So my advice is, don't just go and create a website, come up with a name, create a logo, and then off you go. Because then, that's what I call selling before marketing. We don't sell before we market. We market first. If you do the marketing right, the selling will be easy. So a lot of SMEs don't do the marketing because they think marketing is advertising. They think marketing is promotion. No. Marketing starts with your research. Marketing starts with your SWOT analysis, trying to understand the environment that your business is going to operate in. And if you do that first, the chances are, once you go out and sell, once you go out and promote and advertise, you will be promoting to the right market, you'll be advertising to the right market, therefore the chances of success are high. So that's why I said earlier on, there is no way you can start a business without thinking about marketing, because marketing happens right at the beginning of the process. And if you do that, whether you are an SMME or you are a big corporate, the chances are you'll succeed because you've done your homework well.
Okay. No, that's good, because we always run with the products.
Yes.
And some, they call it what? Spray and pray. You get the product, you run, and then you just go all over, and then
all over the place.
Yeah. You just hope that somebody will just come and buy. So I like also, I think the principle of Lean Startup promotes that concept that you need to go out there in the market and do your research and test your hypothesis, because whatever you think is the problem you are solving out there, it's just assumptions in your head that you might find that your customers out there are not exactly looking for that. Maybe you're coming with a gadget that is a 4-in-1, and customers are just looking for one functionality in that, and you already spent the money to produce that. So the research is very important, and we miss that, because sometimes also we are in the rush to get the sales, we are in the rush to make the money, and then we don't have the time to go and really search who is our customer and who are the people that are going to buy into this idea or this solution that we are bringing up. So that's important. Let me see, I think we've got more questions here. Are there benefits in buying an existing brand?
Yes, they are, but again, it depends. It depends on what brand you're buying. So do your homework. Make sure that you do your homework well. You get all the information about the company that you're buying. So there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have bought companies that were actually dying, but because they're entrepreneurs, they came up with very clever ideas to revive the companies, So I wouldn't say there's a problem in doing that. You can buy, franchising, for example, is something more or less like that, So absolutely. But do your homework before you buy.
Yes, that question was from Lindy. Lindy, then do your homework before you buy anybody else's a brand, so that you know what you are buying into. We've got another question from Queen. What is a go-to-market strategy? I was asked to have that on my pitch presentation. A go-to-market strategy.
Well, it's actually self-explanatory. So I have identified my market. So for example, my product is a niche product, okay? But I've identified my market. My market is in Mozambique because I've identified a gap in Mozambique. So I need to take my brand or my product to my market, you know. So that journey, which entails, again, understanding the dynamics of the market in Mozambique, okay, number one. And number two, understanding how you're gonna move your product from where you are to where you wanna take it to, and all the dynamics involved, you know. So it's all about how your strategy to make sure that you reach your destination easier. So it's all part of your marketing strategy.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. I hope that has answered your question, Queen. Let me see, Lesego, do we have any more questions? Okay, here's another one. As a startup, how do you come with alternative revenue model without compromising your brand?
I didn't get the question.
As a startup, how do you come with alternative revenue model without compromising your brand?
Again, it depends on what type of a startup it is. In other words, let's say it's. I'll give an example. Let's say it's a travel services or it's a shuttle service business, where you are going to shuttle people between the airport and hotels. You know, there are many other opportunities that you can add into that business without necessarily diversifying completely from it. In other words, within the same industry, you know, you can add other business opportunities to get that incremental revenue, but still being in the same business, as opposed to leaving the shuttle service business and maybe going into farming. So that's a very good question. And in fact, going forward, I will say that's one thing that we need to do as SMMEs. There is no way we are going to survive on one income going forward. So we need to come up with businesses that can generate incremental revenue, even if it's one business, you know. So shuttle service, there's nothing wrong in adding a travel agency on top of it, for example. There's nothing wrong in adding tours into it, you know. It's still same industry, but now you are adding more business streams into it, and you're actually getting more income streams. So I think that's actually one way that we need to look at going forward, to make sure that you just don't do one thing and rely on that one income.
Okay. I'll come to your businesses. You've got several businesses. The one is marketing, the other one is brewing beer on the other side. How do you manage the two? Because that looks like it's different. It's different industries altogether. It's different kind of businesses. So, which I think that talks to the different revenue streams. How do you manage that? Because as entrepreneurs with one business, we are dead by the end of the day. Like you're straight.
I actually have three.
Okay.
So the first one is the outdoor advertising, which I started in 2007.
Okay.
The marketing crawl. And then the second business is called Lesaka Marketing Consulting. So this is the business that is involved in marketing mentoring, marketing consulting, marketing training. And then my third business is Mohope Brewing Company, the company that does the beer. Yeah, it's not easy, but I think what has helped me, again, I will go back to the concept of collaborating. So for example, in my outdoor advertising company, I mean, I used to have a lot of employees, but I then realized that, in fact, I don't actually need all of them. I can actually outsource some of the work that we do, because sometimes you don't get the work all the time. There are times where you get a campaign, but then sometimes 6 months passes without a campaign. But now you've got 5 employees in your company that you've got to pay. So this is where now you introduce the concept of outsourcing, where you can just go out and get people to do the work for you. And once the work is done, you pay them and they move away. So it's outsourcing, collaboration. Well, that's outsourcing. Collaboration, I do it a lot. I mean, you'll know, I worked with you, with Tamiko on a lot of projects that involved a lot of collaboration. So again, in the Saka marketing, if I have an assignment to mentor an entrepreneur, obviously my skill is more in marketing and business development. But if the assignment entails bankruptcy or business rescue, obviously, you know, I'll go and get a colleague or an associate that is good with that. And then at the end of the day, the job is done, the client is happy. Yes, I will share the income. I think we need to get out of this greed that we want everything to ourselves. So the pie is big. So if the pie is 100, why do it alone and get the 100 but mess up? As opposed to doing it with 3 people or 4 people, you all get 25, but at the end of the day, you do a brilliant job, and that customer tells other customers, those customers tell other customers. That's how you build that thing that I called equity in your business. So I collaborate a lot. I outsource a lot. And then coming to the brewing, yes. We also have a concept called contract brewing. So you don't actually have to build a brewery. You can if you want, if you have 15 million rands. You know, to build a micro brewery, that's how much you need. But there are companies that actually have breweries, and all they do, they contract their facilities to people that don't want to spend or invest in infrastructure. So at the end of the day, the recipe is mine, the branding is mine, the marketing strategy is mine, because I'm a brewer by training, I did all that. But the actual manufacturing is not done by me, it's done by somebody else. When you go to Woolworths and you buy Woolworths milk, Woolworths is not into dairy. Yeah. They're not into Archer. We all love Woolworths Archer. They don't have a factory to make Archer. They've got people that do that for them. So why can't SMME do the same? Because that minimizes your cost, your startup cost and your setup cost. Consumers and customers don't care about whether you have a big company, whether you have a plant, whether you employ, whatever. Consumers just want your service and your product. So that's how I've managed. By the way, it was difficult at the beginning when I started, but obviously with experience, I'm now able to work on it. And another thing that is important, once you are established as an entrepreneur, you need to work on your business, not in your business. So with my experience, I don't work in my companies. I've got people that work in my business. I work on my businesses. So I basically overlook the businesses. I go out and look for business. I make sure that the implementation is done properly. But yes, I mean, I provide employment, because when I outsource people, I pay them. So I'm providing employment. When I collaborate, when I ask someone to do the work for me and we share, I'm creating value, I'm doing something for them. So we need to learn to share.
Yes.
We need to learn to share.
Yeah,
Let's
we
share
want
the money.
100%.
Let's share the moolah.
We want 100%.
No,
Somebody
it
once
doesn't
said,
work.
like you see also in company shares, somebody said, what is the point of having 100% of nothing if you can have 50% of something? Because
There you go.
sometimes we hold on so much, we want the 100%, but at the end of the day, you mess up the whole thing, you're left with zero. So yeah, so that's important.
Yes.
We are almost out of time. I see there's still a lot of questions. Let me take maybe about 2 of them and see how many we can answer, and then we can start wrapping up. And so I think you can slow down on the questions. We've got enough, otherwise we're not gonna make it. So this one is from Dombi. She's asking, is a business coach always necessary for a business to succeed?
I would actually say a business mentor, because I think there's a bit of a difference, but without getting too technical. I will always say yes, whether you call him a coach or a mentor, definitely, because mentors, you know, they don't necessarily have to be part of your business, but they have that helicopter view. They become an extra pair of hands, an extra pair of eyes. They can actually zoom into your business and assist you and identify things that you as a business owner normally you don't do, because you are so absorbed in the churning, in the daily operations. So yes, mentorship is very important, and there's a lot of people out there that offer mentorships. There are people that have retired, that are bored, and they're sitting at home, and they are willing to help young people. So go out there, get yourself a mentor. I will say definitely yes, with a big Y.
Okay. And the nice thing within the SMME space, there's a lot of organizations that provide mentors for free. So you get, as you say, a lot of volunteers. You don't have to pay for that. So that is very helpful, because yeah, the budget is always a big thing. Here's another budget one from Tandile Sisti. Marketing can be an expensive exercise, and often as SMMEs, we don't have the budget. Any ideas on cost-effective marketing strategies?
How much does it cost you to be on Facebook or on Instagram? The problem with us is we post nonsense on social media instead of promoting our businesses. Mm-hmm. That's why a social media strategy is important. There's nothing wrong in having a personal or a private Facebook page where you share with your friends the cakes that you bake and your holidays.
Yeah.
But have a business page as well, where you continuously market your business. Okay. Instagram is very good, especially if you are selling a physical product, you know. So you take pictures, you take videos, you show your offerings, you know, to the whole world, you know. So the world is, even big companies are moving away from your traditional marketing of radio, television, newspapers, and billboards. They're moving into the digital space, because one good thing about digital marketing is you can measure. If you run a radio ad for a month, it's very difficult to measure your return. But you know, Facebook, you can tell how many people have clicked, how many people have liked, and you can also engage with your followers, you know. So I will say, SMMEs, please, let's use social media. It's there. But again, remember, what you post is important. Mm-hmm. What time you post is important. Which day of the week you post is important. Lastly, LinkedIn is not Facebook. Facebook is not Twitter. All those social media platforms are different and they require a different strategy. So don't go and post your holiday on LinkedIn. It doesn't belong there.
That's true. Okay, so then we need to do a bit of homework and to understand where to post what and when and all that. That's important information, because a lot of time you find people saying I'm marketing on Facebook or whatever, and I'm not getting anything. But the thing is, you have to have the right strategy and know what info where and where your customers are. Somebody once said to me, I've been busy posting on Facebook, but I realized that my customers are not there. They are reading the newspapers and they're on SMS, and that's why nobody's is coming back to me and saying something about what I'm posting. So it's important that you know where your customers are, which media your customers use, so that you don't post to the wrong people. Lindy says some services don't sell well during a recession, e.g. companies cut down on training and executive coaching services during an economic meltdown. How do you market such services when economy is down? I think the other one, there's still about 4 or so questions. I think the other ones we will respond on Facebook. I will continue to write there. Otherwise, people start running away if you go over time. So noted, Sharon, your question is noted. Busisiwe and Silikanye. Mr. Libona will respond on those ones on Facebook. But let's just handle this one, Mr. Libona, then we can wrap up.
Yes, like I said, look, it's not easy. You know, a crisis, it's a crisis. It's difficult. So I think we need to acknowledge the fact that things are tough. So it is not going to be easy. But like I said, I think in my intro, there are always pockets of opportunities lying out there for us to explore. You know, I mean. During the global recession in 2008-9, 2 companies were created. And those 2 companies today are global giants. One is Uber, the other one is Airbnb. Those companies were created right in the middle of the recession, the global recession of 2008. So my message is, don't give up. I know it's hard, but don't give up and say, hey, you know what? I mean, I don't have product. I can't, you know, it's bad. I don't have money. Be creative. You know, there will always be something that you can do. So, I mean, for example, a lot of people now are going to actually start appreciating the importance of e-commerce. I can tell you now, if your product or your services are not online, forget it. Because the future is online. As we saw during the lockdown, only people that were selling online continued to run their businesses. But those that wait to go and see the customer and meet the customer face to face, we were locked down. We were not allowed to do that. So let's move our brands online. Digital marketing is the future.
I was saying we are wrapping up. I still saying there's still a lot of people there wanting their questions to be answered. So let's maybe take a bit more and see how far we can go. Lisiko, you let us know when to stop from that side, because where we are, we don't get a sense of what exactly is happening on Facebook, but it seems like people want their questions to be answered live. So let's take another one. Oh yeah, this one says, where can we buy the beer?
I knew that was gonna come.
Okay, let's hear. Monday was very busy. I'm sure you missed the sales there. Where can we buy the beer?
Okay. Okay, let me talk very quickly about Mohope. So this is the beer. So it's a niche brand. So obviously I've done my homework. So it's a craft beer. Why craft beer? Craft beer because it's brewed in a small brewery. Therefore, I don't enjoy the economies of scale that big breweries enjoy. So it's a bit expensive to produce. That's why it's important that I position it and I market it to the right market. You know? So target market is your top-end restaurants. We target events. We target tourist attractions. So, for example, we sell it in a restaurant on Vilakazi Street because we're targeting tourists there. We also sell it in some hotels in Lesotho, my fatherland. The hotels that have a lot of tourists, because tourists, when they come to South Africa, they don't want to drink the local, the well-known brand. They want to experiment with the local brand. So my strategy is all around that. So it's not a mass market brand, it's niche. Only launched on the 1st of December last year. So we're only about 6 months old. So we're still growing. But obviously the good traction that we got in January, February was then disrupted by the coronavirus. So at this moment in time, for the past 2 months, we couldn't brew, we couldn't sell, we couldn't distribute. So everything had to stop. So I need to go back to the drawing board now and start from scratch. That's the pain of being an entrepreneur. But I'm not going to cry. I'm going to come back even stronger.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. I hope you are answered. You can go now find.
By the way, they can also visit. We are on Instagram at Mohope Brew, and also we are on Facebook, and also they can go to our website www.mohopebrew.co.za. That's where they can find all the information.
Okay, we'll post that on our page so that they can, those who didn't get it, they can get it.
Yes, ma'am.
Says, if I have a portfolio of unrelated revenue streams, i.e. construction, property rentals, finance, auditing, can I register such a portfolio under one umbrella company, or is it important to separate the banks of the streams? Okay, so I guess that's the bank account with separate registration numbers.
Well, some people will do that, but they will then basically register a holding company or a group. So you have a group of companies, and that group of company has its own bank account. Then under that, you have a business that is in tourism, a business that is in advertising, a business that is in construction. Other people do it like that. Other people actually do them separately. I don't think there's a rule, you know, do whatever that you're comfortable, but obviously just make sure that you don't get confused by juggling things around, and also make sure that you don't take revenue from business A and put it in the bank account of business B, because this is where you're gonna get confused. And when you do your financial statements and your management accounts, then you're gonna have problems. So you can run. I mean, my businesses are separate. I mean, each one is registered separately. Each one has got its own bank account, and I don't get confused. I run them parallel, and there's never a problem. So you can do that. I don't think there's a problem, but just make sure that you are on top of your game. You don't get confused and get lost in the process.
Okay, so we've got two last ones. Let's squeeze them in. Silikanya says, because research can be somehow not accurate all the time, what are possible turnaround strategies one can come up with when you need short-term outcomes? Which platform is best to use in terms of advertising versus marketing and branding? I think you've covered this one a little bit. Maybe you can just emphasize it a bit more.
Yes. Look, I mean, doing market research does not have to be expensive. I mean, obviously, if you want to do a thorough, I mean, you will know better. If you want to do a thorough qualitative or quantitative study, this is where you may have to appoint a service provider that does that. But I mean, for me, research, you can do research by driving around, by talking to people, by doing little surveys, you know. These things are not expensive at all. If you have a laptop and a printer, and you can just design a little survey, give it to people. Or, I mean, I use Facebook to do my research. Or if I have an idea that I want to test, I just post on my Facebook page and I ask my friends to comment or to rate things. So let's use those Facebook pages for business. Let's stop using them for nonsense.
Yes, get value out of it. If we spend a lot of time on those things, then we better get value from it. The last question from Reynand, please elaborate on the risks to brand equity when using associates or outsourcing model.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So he wants you to elaborate on the risk when you, I think you've got your brand equity is linked to outsourcing. So you are branding, but you're using a lot of, you use in your business, you use outsourcing model. So you know, what is the risk in terms of your brand equity?
I get that. That's a very good question. You outsource an element of your business. You don't outsource your brand. So there's a big difference, okay? So, for example, in my business, if I have a campaign to go and brand in Soweto using my wall murals, I outsource the artists. So the process of branding the wall is done by somebody else. But I don't outsource the business to that person that is doing the branding. The business is still your responsibility, you know. So that question is actually very good, because I know a lot of SMMEs that get into outsourcing, but in fact, they think outsourcing is just saying, hey, I'm going to push this into someone to do it. You still have to take responsibility, because remember, at the end of the day, when you go and present to your client your work, your client may not know that you outsourced. So that's why your branding is still important. Your image is still important. Your reputation is still important, you know. So you don't outsource your brand. You outsource elements of your businesses, but you still have to be responsible for the equity of your brand. Okay,
I hope that answered your question, Reynand. I think that's the end of today. Thank you very much, Mr. Lebona. That was very insightful. I hope the entrepreneurs benefited. I personally benefited. And I hope that even next time when we make the call, you'll be available. Just as a short advice or one-line advice to entrepreneurs on marketing, what is it that you would like to say to them in closing?
I'm gonna say what I've already said. Marketing is central to any business. It's at the center. It has to happen. It has to. You cannot run a business without marketing. It's as simple as that. So, but again, as I said, understand what marketing is. So just having a logo is not marketing. Just having a flyer in the street is not marketing. Marketing is that process that entails all those things, whereby at the end of the day, we want to create demand for our businesses. And how do you create demand for your business? By making sure that your customer or your consumer is in love with your brand. And if they're in love with your brand, they will buy your brand.
Thank you very much. That's true. And thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who has joined us and everyone who has stayed on. I hope you benefited. And yeah, this is the end of our conversation today. We hope to do more of this, and just keep watching our pages and then you'll get the information as to when we're going to have our next one. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. J. Appreciate it.
Thank you.